Hello.
Hey, Katie.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Excellent.
I just had like the craziest thing ever happen to me. It always does right before a team call. My whole family's at the Pirates game tonight, and so I'm taking care of my dog that just got spayed like 2 days ago, and she is on pain medication, running around the house. The other
Uh-huh.
dog we have is having accidents everywhere. I'm like, this is not happening 2 minutes before I'm supposed to go be on the team call.
Oh my gosh. Every time.
Always. I'm like, what the heck? I'm just gonna get the thumbs up that we're being seen and heard from somebody on my team.
Okay, cool.
Okay, I think we're good. I'm just gonna give everybody just like one more minute to hop on.
Cool. Oh, cool. All right. There's the chat to the side. Excellent.
Okay, I think we're all good. All right, I think let's get started.
Cool.
We usually do like free conference calling, so webinars aren't usually something that we're used to, but this is pretty cool, and I like that we're able to just broadcast right through YouTube. That's sweet.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you guys for hopping on tonight. This is normally what is our Fly Nation team call that's every other Wednesday. Usually like once a month I try to get some sort of guest speaker on. And we thought that this was such a great topic that I extended this as well to my uplines team page, Nikki Whiting's team, Beatnik Dynasty. So we have lots of viewers tonight, which is really exciting. And then we also have some guests with us as well. I know a lot of coaches invited their significant other to listen in with them tonight. So we're really excited about that. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Katie Flynn, and I'm a co-founder of Fly Nation. And my sister, she's not able to be here tonight because she's at the Pirates game. Like I said, her fiance now, they just got engaged. He's home on leave from Afghanistan, so they're trying to spend a lot of time together right now. But yeah, so Robb is our guest speaker tonight, Robb Pearson, and he is a 4-star diamond coach. He's just hitting his 3-year mark in the business. His wife, a lot of you may know, is Chelsea Pearson. She's an amazing coach as well. Robb is a co-founder of Shred Nation. He is in love with Shakeology and Jesus. Totally love that. But yeah, just to give a little backstory of why I asked Robb to be on this call and how we kind of met. Once you become a 2-star and above coach, you get added into these groups by corporate called leaders pages. So we're both in the East region. So we're in this page called the East Region Leaders. And it's really cool because you get to know a lot of different coaches in the business and not just people that are directly on your team. And I remember first getting to know Robb when I was in a really big transition period in my business, and I was looking for anyone on earth to give me advice to leave my full-time job. And I was like sucking the life out of like 1,000 coaches probably, because I'm like, I need to hear everyone's opinion, because it was a really tough decision for me. But so I posted in this East Region page, and I'm like, can anybody message me that left their full-time job, that isn't a mom? I need somebody that's like kind of the same pace as me.
I am not a mom.
So Robb obviously was not a mom. I'm like, can somebody help me out? And he was very helpful. giving me some great tips and telling me that he had left his corporate job as well. And that's kind of how we got to know each other. And then I was actually in a training. It was a leadership training my coach had asked me to be in, and his wife Chelsea was one of the people that ran it. So I started to really become aware of them on social media and kind of started following their story, and I really respect and appreciate how they run their businesses. So when I thought of the topic of having spousal support and just kind of really having that team vibe with your significant other, I couldn't think of anybody better to speak to us tonight. So I'm just going to kind of pass it on to you, Rob, and you can take it away.
Thank you, Katie. I appreciate that. And it's my pleasure to be here and share something that I'm pretty passionate about. And I think why I like talking about this topic so much is because I was I wouldn't say that I was the skeptical spouse per se, but I was a spouse that didn't want anything to do with this. And what I wanted to start with is just sharing a little bit of my story, just so you guys have a frame of reference of where I started and how I got tied into this business. And then just kind of share some ideas that I have about how to work with men as coaches and challengers. And then, of course, how to work with your spouse. And this kind of goes both ways, because in every relationship, I feel you have one person who's the creative person and then one person who's the practical person. And hopefully, as I go through this stuff, you'll be able to identify whether you're the female spouse or the male spouse. You'll be able to say, I'm the practical person or I'm the creative person. And then I'll just share my thoughts and basically what Chelsea and I have done to create the business and the team that we have in the time that we've done it. So my story starts off, I don't even know how long ago. Probably it was about 4 years ago, because it was a year before I started coaching, and I was 100 pounds overweight. If you guys have, this is so cool. I keep this with me all the time. If you guys have this book, I'm in it, which is cool. It's cool because I carry this around with me. This is my wear and share. So I'll just open up the book and show that and be like, yeah, they put me in the book. So if you have this book and you need to carry this around with you, just like Facebook message me and be like, I have someone who doesn't believe this, and I'll talk to them, because it's real. Obviously, we know that Shakeology works and these programs work. But so I was 100 pounds overweight, and I worked at a contact center. And I don't know if any of you guys have worked at a contact center before, but you walk in and you sit the entire day, and to your left there's cupcakes and cookies, and to your right there's pizza and donuts. So it's really easy to put on a lot of weight and get really unhealthy. And that just became a part of my life. I also played in a touring band, and it was pretty much like Taco Bell and beer was our diet. So I had myself in a really bad spot. My body fat percentage was like 35%, and it was just not good. So my turning point and where I started to decide that my health actually mattered was my dad. My dad passed about 1.5 years ago. He was very overweight. He had heart issues, and it was the time that it was probably his 4th heart attack. He had 4. He had 9 stents put in his heart, 2 bypasses and a leg bypass. And then the 4th heart attack that he had, they had to do open heart surgery. And I remember leaving work, going to the hospital, and just seeing him lying there with his chest cut open. And I knew at that point, like, that was going to be me if I didn't change anything. So I found Insanity, and this makes me laugh every time I tell the story, because when I bought Insanity, it was on TV. I called the 800 number, and I paid 3 installments of $39.95. And now it's funny because with Beachbody On Demand, you can get 3 months of Insanity for $38.87. We didn't have challenge packs back then. We didn't have any of that. So I bought Insanity, and I went through the program by myself. And this is another story. This is why you should talk to leads. Whoever I got assigned to never reached out to me, and they should have, because now obviously I'm doing this full time and they'd be getting crazy volume from me. But they never reached out. So reach out to your leads. So I went through Insanity and I lost 35 pounds in the first round. I lost another 30 pounds in the second round. And, you know, over a year, I lost 100 pounds, was at like 8% body fat, something insane. And my roommate and I started this thing called Shred Nation Kitchen. And if you go to YouTube and you search Shred Nation Kitchen, you'll see me. I'm 6'7", and my little 5'5" roommate. We take our shirts off because we thought we were all like alpha and ripped. And we make healthy junk food and basically make jokes at each other the whole time. So that was like what I was passionate about, because now that I was healthy, I wanted to share that with other people. And then, so after that, I met Chelsea. I met her at a turbo kick instructor training because I knew she was going to be there and I thought she was hot. And so I figured that that was my end, and it worked. So I was just like, man, I don't want to do this coaching thing, because she was a coach. She is my upline, and I didn't want to do it. And I remember she makes fun of me all the time when we share this story. And she's like, he always said like, oh, I don't want to be a coach. I just want to help people get fit with Insanity and Shakeology. And she makes me sound like a dope every time that she tells this story. And thinking back in retrospect, that was a pretty dumb comment for me to make. But so we start, what ended up happening for me was she had a goal. I signed up as a coach. She had a goal to make Emerald, and I helped her get to Emerald. And then she had a goal to make Diamond. So I was like, okay, my roommate is into this too, and I'll get my mom to drink Shakeology. And what really sunk in for me, my roommate, who is 2 years older than me, had been put on blood pressure medication that he was going to have to take for the rest of his life. And a crazy statistic, in 2014, 90% of prescriptions that were written were for medications that people were supposed to take for the rest of their life. It's like a really frightening statistic. So after 2 months of drinking Shakeology, my roommate Steve went for his annual checkup, and the doctor took him off the meds. And when that happened, I knew that this is what I wanted to do the rest of my life. I guess that's like where it really hits for me. And it was that one moment where I was just like, man, these results that it gets is something that I can really stand behind and really work. And that's really the theme that I'm going to get to as far as men in this business. This is a female-dominated business, and we all know that. But I think if you shift your mentality and start treating each person who you talk to as an individual and start treating them differently, you will be able to be successful working with both women and men. You just need to understand how men work, okay? And Katie, you can attest to this too, because I know that a main part of why you love Beachbody is probably just the community and being around positive people and feeling like you're part of something, right?
Absolutely, for sure.
Yes. So putting this as bluntly as possible, guys don't really care about that. And this is a generalism, but I think that's a thing. So many people struggle with men because they try to make them want to enjoy the community. And when it comes down to it, most guys just want results. You know, the fact that my roommate got off the medication were the results that I needed to see. Me losing the weight were the results that I needed to see. I don't need to feel like I'm a part of a community. I don't need the warm and fuzzy. And most guys are that way. Obviously, there are always exceptions. There will always be exceptions. There are some girls who don't need the warm and fuzzy, obviously. But you have to know what you're working with, okay? And I think the key when working with people, this is a quote that I wrote down. And as my mentor, Shalene Johnson, always says, smart people take notes. So write this down, because I think it's a really funny anecdote. And anytime that I can have something that's meaningful that also makes me laugh, it's something that I hold on to. You have to let an elephant be an elephant, and you need to let a duck be a duck. Okay, so, and that's the thing, is so many people will ask questions about like, you know, how do you get men more involved with challenge groups if they don't want to be involved? Well, if they don't want to be involved, don't make them get involved. You know, if you're setting an expectation that just isn't going to happen, conflict arises when expectations don't meet reality. So if you're going to try to get someone to do something that they don't want to do, you're going to have that conflict. Okay. So the key is figuring out how that works. Just like an elephant is never going to fly and a duck is never going to knock a tree over with its nose. Right. So that you can't expect a duck to do that, and you can't expect an elephant to fly. And I know there's Dumbo, but that's fiction. So what I have found works most with men, first and foremost, is competition. Okay. So with guys, we're about testosterone. We're about trying to one-up other people. And you have the ability when working with people to give them the opportunity to compete against each other. Set a goal for them to achieve and let them shatter it. That's the best way to get a guy engaged, because that's really what pushes us to do more than the bare minimum. Okay. The next thing, as far as working with men, less is more. I know that a lot of people will run challenge groups and they post every day, and there's a call to action every day, and there's something that needs to happen every day. For most guys, this is just, again, reality. Just most guys don't want to check in every day. They want to get their workout in because that's what's going to get them results, and that's the end of it. So don't try to get the guys to respond to that post every day that works for most of the women that you have in your challenge groups. And then finally, and I think most importantly, you have to set expectations. Just like you're going to ask, when you're forming people and when you're having conversations with what their expectations are and what their goals are, it's important that you set expectations with guys. What I do, honestly, super simple, super painless, and it makes everything so easy. All I do, I set the expectation with every one of my guys that I need an email once a week. I don't need them checking in every day, telling me how their nutrition was, if they got their workout in, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I know that if they're serious, they're going to do that. But what I need is an email once a week with them telling me what happened that week. A quick recap. It's going to take them 5 minutes to write. It's going to take me 5 minutes to read, and everyone wins. If you think that's going to work with your female challengers and coaches too, by all means have at it. But I just have seen with my experience that this works better. Because again, they're going to check in once a week, and they are so much more likely to see results over a week than if they're doing something every single day. Okay. That's how I recommend that people work with men as far as challenges go. Now, this is the big one that everyone who's signed on for is probably here for this. How to involve your spouse. Okay. So I was the spouse that was just like, oh, I don't want to do this. I guess I just didn't really understand it. And I think that's the biggest disconnect, is that a woman who's in the business or a man that's in the business, we get it. We understand it. We know why we're doing this. And we almost take it for granted and just expect our spouse to understand. Okay. But if you think about it, that doesn't work for anything else in your marriage. If you just expect the other person to understand you, it's not going to end up working out. You have to communicate. You have to over communicate, really. So the first thing that I recommend people do is read The 5 Love Languages. It's a book. Please write that down. It's totally awesome because it talks about 5 different ways that people receive love. And I know for me, I have to give Chelsea words of affirmation. I could give her all the gifts in the world. I could clean all the dishes, mop the house up and down. I could do all of that for her. And if I don't say with how I feel with my words, she's going to feel like I don't care. And the cool thing is this will work not only for your spouse, but also for all your coaches, because I know when we recognize people, we send them, our diamonds, we send them Beats wireless headphones, because that's really cool. But if you have a coach and their love language isn't gifts, you're essentially throwing money away when you send that to them. So it's really important that you understand these 5 love languages and get to know that about your coaches. And you need to do the same thing with your spouse, because if they're going to participate in this business, you're going to need to make them feel valued. Okay.
The other thing for 1 second, because I'm cracking because that is totally me. Like, I actually read that book, and I tell he's actually listening. My fiance is listening, and I always tell him, I'm like, I don't need things. Like, I don't need you to buy me things. Like, I need you to tell me that I'm awesome. Like,
well, what Chelsea says to me, and he'll probably knock me out when I meet him. But what Chelsea says to me is, she goes, "Please affirm me with your words." And then I know right away, it's like, she's not feeling loved. I need to focus this and give her the words.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a good thing. And that's the other thing. I now know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if you don't communicate that and you don't learn how other people respond to stuff, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Right.
Really. So the next thing you have to figure out is what motivates your spouse. And that's slightly different than love languages, but it's important that you know and understand that, because if you don't know how to motivate your spouse, again, you're not going to be able to make him or her feel like what he or she is doing is valuable. So think about what motivates your spouse. The next thing, and this is big, you have to know what your spouse enjoys and what he is good at. And this is really the key, because what so many people try to do is you think about, like, man, what do I hate about doing in my business? Then once you figure that out, it's like, oh, let me give that to my spouse. That's not gonna work. You have to think about what he is good at and what he can actually help with. So, and just think about it this way. So let's say you're terrible with numbers. You're the creative person. You don't understand the back office at all, and your spouse is good with numbers or good with Excel sheets or whatever it is. You can position it to say, like, you can build them up. If it's words of affirmation, you can say, hey, I know that you're really good at this, and I'm absolutely terrible at this. Could you either help me learn how this works, or do you think that this might be something that you might be able to help me with? And then if you position it that way, it's not like, oh, do this crap that I don't want to do. You're actually building him up and appreciating him for what he's going to do to help you with your business. So the next thing is level up, but level up slow. Okay. You can't just be like, again, so same situation. There are probably a lot of things about coaching that you're like, man, I wish that my spouse would just do all of this stuff. Don't just throw him into the pit. Give one task at a time, because otherwise he's not going to be able to pick it up as well. He's going to feel frustrated. You're going to feel frustrated because he's not picking it up as quick as you wanted him to. It's just a recipe for disaster. So, like, do one thing at a time. I mean, if you think about a brand new coach, you're not telling them to run like a push to emerald group their second day as a coach, right? You're helping them with all the basics and the foundation. You have to look at it the same exact way when you're bringing your spouse in to help you with your business, or the same way with a virtual assistant. When we started with our virtual assistant a year and a half ago, and she started at like 2 hours a week, and now she's at 35. If we had all these tasks for that 35 hours that she does, and we gave that to her on the first day, it would have been a total disaster. So you just have to think about it that way. Build it up slow, and add one piece at a time. That way it's not completely overwhelming, and he will actually perform better at the things that he's taking on. Next, this is super, super important. Do not expect him to be the same type of coach that you are. And I think that happens so often. It's just like, man, like, I don't know why my spouse just isn't doing everything that I'm doing. And you have to understand that when you bring your spouse into this business, it's not a let's both do the same thing and go forward so that we can build our business faster. It's about dividing and conquering. Okay? If any of you guys follow Chelsea, you know, like, she's the social media princess. She has all that stuff down. She's like the main attraction. And for me, I actually have an education in education. Is that right? I have a background in education. That's what my degree is in. So it's really cool because she brings all these people in and attracts these coaches. And then I have the ability to teach them how to do this. and I'm a numbers person, and I'm an education person. So it's really like my wheelhouse to be able to not only share something that I'm passionate about, but do something that I'm trained to do. If I was to go and try to do the stuff that Chelsea does, she does our website design too, I would absolutely muck that up, and it would be a total disaster. So I'm not going to try to do that, and she's not going to try to make me do that. And that's really the key to dividing and conquering, because you have the person who's the best at doing a task, doing that task. And it's really great for you to build it that way, because it's less stress. It's almost like you're building half a business. But again, it takes the time to add one task at a time to be able to split it up that way. So that's really, I think that's basically everything that I wanted to go over with. I don't know, Katie, do you know if there's like, with this chat, can people ask questions, or is there a way that we can do a Q&A?
I will post in like our team page, a thread.
Okay.
If anybody has any questions.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I would love to answer any questions. I don't know. I hope that I hit on everything that you wanted me to hit on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really good too I know specifically I'm thinking of at least a few people in my mind that are wanting to specifically bring their spouses on actively in coaching roles fairly soon. So sure. I'm sure that hearing all of that was really helpful for them.
Cool, cool.
All right, let's see here. Yeah, guys, I posted in Beatnik and Fly Nation if anybody has any questions for Rob.
Both of those team names are awesome, by the way. I approve of that.
Thanks. Don't be shy, guys. I'm not sure if you can do a live chat on here or not.
I see a group chat over to the right, well, actually, on the left, there's a little blue box that says chat. I don't know if it's disabled or something. I don't know.
Okay, we have, from Michelle, she said, what if they are not into it at first? How do you get them to support you or to just be generally interested in it?
Awesome. So here is the key to support. This is it. So again, with guys, it's about results. And this is what I'm going to say is pretty bold, but it's the truth. You need to say, give me 30 days. Let me show you what I can do in 30 days. This is like when we have people who are just like, my spouse doesn't want me to be a Beachbody coach. The great thing is, if you buy a challenge pack, you can and it doesn't work after 30 days, you can get your money refunded, right? So that's what we tell a lot of people to do, is tell your spouse to give you 30 days, but then do the work. Because if you can buy a challenge pack for $140, and then you can either sell 3 challenge packs or a couple of bags of Shakeology, and you can recoup your cost in a month, those results are going to make any guy say, all right, cool. If you can cover everything that you're spending, that's fine by me. But again, it's a matter of making sure that you get down and do the work. Because if you don't, and you say, give me 30 days, and you don't put the work in and you don't get those results, then he's going to say, no, I'm done. I'm done with it.
Yeah. I think that kind of answered the second one too. She said, so her husband's already drinking Shakeology, but cool. He doesn't want to be signed up even as a discount coach. I know some people are just kind of leery about even having their social security number. You know what I mean?
Sure.
They're just, for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's proof is in the pudding. If you are to build an income, that's the thing. We're actually at the point now. It's really cool. We've got a couple of people who are quitting their full-time jobs to be Beachbody coaches full-time. That's one of the most rewarding things that we've been able to experience, which is really cool. But that's what ends up happening. If you do this long enough and you work long enough that you start making a paycheck, and he sees that and just wait a minute. So you're on social media and doing your power hour, and this is what you actually pull this much money in every week. it will open their eyes, and seeing their results will be like, okay, cool, I'm in.
Yeah, I totally agree. Wait, one more. Okay, so when you're asking the guys to email once a week for check-ins, have you experienced, or what do you say if they're not even responding to that?
So here's the thing that's tough. So you have to accept the fact that not everyone is going to do work. And this is the thing for me. When I started as a coach, when we started as coaches, we had this scarcity mentality of like, we have to find anyone that we can, and we have to invest all of our time into anyone that we can. And what we found over time, and we got burnt out because of this, is you cannot force someone to be successful. Okay? If you have the conversation, you bring someone in and you say, this is what I'm expecting of you, and they go totally MIA, that's not on you. Yeah. You have to have the system in and be consistent. But if people just go ghost, I say you have to let them go, and always be, you know, that's why it's so important that you're always posting on social media, or that you have people in groups, so that you're constantly there and that you're present. But I don't chase anyone anymore, because it's never worth it. I really want people who are like me, people who are driven, and people who actually want to do this. You know, and I know, especially when you're starting out, it's hard to say like, you know, just let people go, because we hold on to those people so tight. But it's going to burn you out. And the math that I always have to throw out there is that 2 out of 3 people in this country are overweight or obese. That's 200 million people. So if there's one person who's not going to respond to your email, you can find 10 people in the amount of time it would take you to wrangle that one who doesn't really want this.
Right. I'm sure, I mean, being in it 3 years too, you've probably experienced it a bazillion times too. Like the people that even 6, 7, 8 months later, they come back anyways. Just like you said, you know, they are seeing you post on social media, and it's just, I always try to think too, like, you don't always know everything about somebody, and it might not just be the right time, and there might be something crazy going on in their life. So even though you're letting them go, I do the same exact thing. I'm like, I'm not going to chase anybody. I'm letting them go. But, you know, you're still there for them on social media, and you could still drop in and check on them. And then, like, I've seen it happen a bazillion times. They just come back when the time is right.
Yeah, people have stuff that happens, and it's cool. Like I just rebranded my social media in preparation for the performance line launch. I'm trying to get like all crazy shredded and get into like meathead mode for that. And now that I've started to do that, the people who have been gone are like, oh wait, he's like doing this. I want to be a part of this before it starts.
Yeah.
So just by doing that, you have so much more influence than you think you do, because 99 out of 100 people are never going to say that they're watching what you're doing, but they're all watching what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. Just a few more. Cool. My husband works full-time. Did you have another job also when you started? And if so, how did you manage your time?
Okay, so power hour. And this is the thing. So when I say power hour, it doesn't mean 60 minutes. It means whatever time that you know that you can lock down every day. I did have a job. So when Chelsea and I first started dating, she lived in New York and I lived in Rhode Island. So we were in different states. And that was part of our push and our why at the time, because we weren't going to be able to relocate. And in order to be together, we were going to have, one of us was going to have to retire. And then we both retired within 3 weeks of each other, which was cool. But so really the best thing to do is if you schedule out your day and you know you have X minutes a day that you can commit to Beachbody. And then what you need to do is you need to write down your no matter what. So things that you have to do every single day. So it's your check-ins with your challenge groups, your social media posts. And if you're not creating all of your social media posts on one day and then posting them for the rest of the week, you're crazy. Because what I do, this is nuts. This is my secret to how I run my social media. I do food prep once a week, and I do it on Sunday. And what do I do while I'm sitting there waiting for the food to cook? I'm in my phone editing the posts that I'm gonna send out for the rest of the week. So it's just about working smarter. So you have to you have to allocate time to make your social media posts. You have to allocate time to following up with people who you've talked to, whatever you're doing for personal development, whatever you're doing for your workout. You need to block out intentionally that time so that at the end of the day, you never feel like you missed anything. But again, just because people call it a power hour doesn't mean it has to be 60 minutes. It's whatever it takes you to get the things that you have to get done on a daily basis.
Yeah, I love that. I asked earlier in the week, one of my newer coaches asked me, like, how much time do you think like a part-time coach is working in the business? I was like, well, it's been so long since I was part-time, so I wanted to get other people's opinions, and it was kind of cool to see the different amount of times that people were saying. Some were 30 minutes a day, some were 4 hours a day, and like you said, it's just a matter of what works for you and what you can get done in that amount of time.
Yeah, the other thing, and that just brought up this thing in my head, I always tell people, working more hours doesn't mean that you're going to be more productive. And it's so crazy if you can control what you're actually doing. I call it the law of diminishing returns. If you spend 12 hours sitting at your computer trying to do all your Beachbody work, I guarantee that if you wrote down exactly what you needed to be doing, you could do it all in 2 hours, and you would do better, more productive work over that 2 hours, and you'd actually accomplish more than if you just sat aimlessly for 12 hours working. So I think as long as you can be intentional with everything that you're doing, you can absolutely build a 6-figure business spending an hour a day.
Right. That's so true, because one of my good friends, another coach in Beatnik, Carly Wood, we always say, we're like, we have all this free time because we're both full-time coaches and we're both not mothers. So we have all this free time on our hands. And I'm seeing these like freaking rock star coaches that have like 5 kids. And I'm like, how are they doing that? But it's like they're just dedicating like those like nap times. It's like nap time is go time. Like I'm just going to get it done. Whereas I have like all day and I'm just like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this and stuff. And it took me a really long time to get into a groove to be more focused and be more strict. And I actually remember, Rob, you telling me that when I was asking you about going full time and saying like, if you can literally just dedicate a few hours a day, you can just focus and get what you need done, and then enjoy. Obviously this job preaches freedom and time freedom, and you want to be able to live that too. You don't want to work, 18 hours a day. So
and it's easy to fall into that trap too if you're not intentional about it. And when we did the mentorship with Brett and Shalene this past year, like she really opened up our eyes to the fact that she pretty much works 3 hours a day. But she gets as much done in those 3 hours as most people would do in a week, just because she's so structured and so intentional about it. And she breaks things up into 15 to 20 minute spurts with a break. And that's why, she learned that because the school system, the public school system is, if you think about it, it's usually 30 to 40 minute periods, because that's the time that works most. It's the most conducive to learning and training people. So if you can set your time up to work like that, you're going to be really productive.
Yes, for sure. Okay, this is a really good one. Tori said, so about dividing and conquering, I want my hubby to actively coach full-time with me one day, but he isn't all about going out and presenting the biz, inviting, etc. Do you think it's possible to just have one spouse doing the behind-the-scenes work and the other doing the public work? Do you think it's possible to maximize the opportunity if you split it that way?
Yes, absolutely. So I think the first person who comes to mind is Christine Dwyer, because she's obviously ridiculous. And she is the wow and John is the how. And if you guys don't know who John is, like, he runs that business. He runs the biggest organization in the company. And he doesn't sign up coaches and he doesn't do any of that stuff. So yes, I absolutely do believe that. And it's like, we're kind of lucky. I feel like we're very lucky because I have a transformation. So I do have the ability to bring people in. But you don't have to have it that way. I think that you will find, if you talk to most of the coaches who's like either the male or the female is like the dominating face of it. So like Who's another example? So Jimmy Nelson, okay? Jimmy Nelson is the male, but he's the face. And his wife, Kelly, runs the show. Jimmy is the one who's on the stage, and he's the wow, but Kelly runs it all. She has everything organized. She builds the system. She tracks everything. And most people know Jimmy, but they don't know Kelly. So it's absolutely possible. I think more successful coaches have that relationship than you would think.
Yeah. I'll never forget Summit last year when Lindsay Matway was accepting her top coach award or whatever. And that was like one of the first things she said. She's like, I literally could have never done this without my husband. You have no idea how much he does behind the scenes.
Billy is a true servant and a true husband to her. So yeah, it's absolutely. And I think, again, like if you ended up talking to most of the coaches that we all look up to, you would find it to be very, very much the case with most of them.
Yeah. Okay, one more question, last one.
Cool.
How do you even reach out to guys? I feel as though some guys are apprehensive to reach out for things that I post, and I don't know how to just reach them privately.
Cool. So I can't believe this is like a record. So I can't believe I haven't talked about this. So if you aren't working from a list, you're insane. Okay. So I don't know if you and your team do this, but so what we've done is we have everyone build a list. We all know this is so funny. So 2 things I always used to roll my eyes at are the 3 vital behaviors. Okay. I always used to roll my eyes at that because it's one of those things where you're just like, oh, why does everyone say the 3 vital behaviors is the key to their business? And then you do them, and then it works, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was rolling my eyes at that. And then the other thing for me is the memory jogger. Okay, I always used to hear about that and be like, that's the dumbest thing that I've ever heard. But the fact of the matter is that the average 25-year-old, the average 25-year-old knows 1,000 people. Okay, and if you think about that, I know that you guys haven't invited all 1,000 of those people to be in a challenge group or to be a part of this business opportunity. And it's because you haven't been intentional about writing them down. So if there's one thing that you're going to do tonight or tomorrow, please, please, please do this. You can get it in the back office, or if you're lazy like me, you can just Google it. Just Google Beachbody memory jogger. And it comes up with this thing, and it's so funny because I do it once a month. Because you always, like, depending on the frame of mind you're in, you'll always remember people that you didn't think about the last time. So what I tell my coaches to do is to create a list of 250 people. It's only 25% of all the people that you know. I know that 250 sounds like a lot, but really when you think about it, it's only 25% of that 1,000 people. So you can do it. You just have to, again, be intentional about putting down that uninterrupted time. And then I have them organize it. So what you should be doing is, first of all, if you want to work with guys, you need to find just one guy and help that one guy get results. Because again, guys are results oriented. So once you find that one guy, you're like, I know this person can get results. I'm going to work with that guy. I'm going to focus on working with him and getting him those results. That gives you the tool that you need to directly message every single other guy on that list and say, hey, I think that you would be great at this. Like, I have this guy who's totally killing this, but I need someone to push him, and I think that you're that guy. And then what you're doing is, first of all, you're creating competition. And like inside, I know if some guy, if a girl came up to me and said that, I'd be like, oh man, I'm going to beat, like, that guy's not going to show me up. I'm going to come in, I'm going to beat that guy. So you really have the ability to just, to push guys to do that, but it has to be you reaching out to people. I cannot say this enough. Posting something on social media with the intent of people coming and buying something from you because of that is not the way you should be going about this business. You should be going through one by one the people on your list, directly messaging them and making them feel like you want them to be a part of what you're doing. That's what inviting is.
Love it.
So that's my spiel.
Love it so much. Loved all of it. I think that's it for the questions.
Awesome.
I think that'll wrap it up. We really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Yeah, everybody's saying already that they loved it, and then I know we'll have lots of people catching the recording as well, so we really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Rob.
Have a great night, guys.
Bye.
Bye.